Welcome to the Producer's Journal, your go-to resource for aspiring creators and businesses looking to dive into the world of podcasting. Produced by SRP Studios, go to srpstudiosllc.com for more information on what SRP Studios can do for you and your podcasting needs. My name is Derrick, and I am the proud owner of SRP Studios. I leverage my years of work in the podcast industry to guide my guests to unlock their full podcasting potential. My guests also gain a platform to discuss and promote their business and other ventures. So tune in and let your podcasting journey begin. Today, I have my friend Kelly Day with me. Kelly offers photography and video editing services. You can see her incredible work on YouTube at Kelly Day Portraits. You will find high energy, high-end gameplay videos for her son's high school football games. And being a mom of athletes, a coach's wife, and a content creator, Kelly sees a podcast about navigating that world and discussing the journey, such as interviewing coaches, scouts, and talking about behind-the-game stuff, and having no time to do anything else. So, Kelly, thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
This is going to be fun. So, full disclosure, we have talked about your podcast dreams before, and that's why when I put this together, you were a no-brainer to approach, because I want to talk to people that are either podcasters that have questions, or people like yourself that you get it, you understand the space, you've had a vision of something that you wanted to do. So then we can riff on it and just talk about it. So hopefully our audience will learn something from this conversation. So, but before we get into your podcast dream, which is definitely going to be tying into sports, tell us a little more about your channel and what it is that you're doing for your son's football team.
Yeah, so it actually started way back when my kids were doing flag football. So I have two boys, one who is 17 now and one that is 14. So junior year in 8th grade. We started back when my oldest was 6 years old doing flag football. I always enjoyed filming their games, and I would do kind of like a highlight after the game was over for all the parents and for the kids, so that they have memories. And that's really where the channel started. Did that, for several years. And then when COVID came, it became a live streaming channel, so that while our kids were playing, I could live stream and everybody could watch it, not just because they couldn't go to the games, but now grandparents who lived out of town could watch. And, it just became an opportunity to share what our kids were doing with all the families. And
the quality is high. Like your full disclosure, your video editing skills far surpass mine. That's why I have editors on my thing. But what was that learning curve like for you?
It wasn't too bad. And I think it's because I grew up doing dance and choreography and some of that stuff. And so to me, putting music behind the action plays and making hit the beats of the music and, all the things that make it entertaining and emphasize what's happening in the game footage. Mm-hmm. I don't know. To me, it's a little bit of like doing choreography, but also capturing the kids at the same time.
Yeah, it's musical. It's in beats.
Yes.
So what software do you use?
Currently, I'm using Final Cut Pro and After Effects. Those are my go-to.
That's awesome. So please, I implore all of you listening, all 1 million of you, right? I bet you didn't know that, Kelly. We have a huge audience here.
That's great.
Check out that channel. It is Kelly Day Portraits, and it's very good work. Now, you also are looking as an entrepreneur to bring in clients that need editing services, correct? So tell us a little more about that.
Yeah. So now that my oldest is getting, he's a junior in high school. And so we're doing a lot of recruiting, and he's a 2-sport athlete. So he plays baseball, is being heavily recruited as a left-handed pitcher. And then, of course, with the football side, I just know that kids need hype videos and they need highlight videos to send to recruiters and, all that stuff. So to me, it just kind of ties in. The timing is right. I'm starting to learn about, scouts and recruiting and, all the things that you have to do to get them into school and NIL and, all the different things. And so to me, it's just an opportunity to provide that as a service to other kids. And then, of course, I have a photography business too. So, senior pictures, all that stuff, it all just ties right in.
Mm-hmm. So your best referral, would it be a scout or coaches?
Probably coaches, athletic directors, anybody in the school that's in charge of yearbooks, that kind of stuff. They're always looking for content.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And we talked about this. What is the name of that website we were talking about where kids go to and upload their videos?
Huddle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Huddle is a system that you actually film during the games, and the coaches have an iPad down on the field so they can see what's happening. Like they can go back and watch the last play to see what happened, if something went wrong or went right, so they can talk about it. And then after the game, the kids can go in and select the plays that were their highlights, and then they can share those out on Twitter and, share them with coaches and other stuff. So that's pretty cool.
And colleges look at this stuff too, right?
Yeah, they do.
It's like building your own profile, your own portfolio.
Yeah, social media for athletes.
And a lot of these kids need some editing help, right? So
they do. Yes,
Kelly Day is the one for you. So, well, what's great about this is the podcast dream you have kind of is all part of this as well. Mm-hmm. I might have a guest here that is an insurance agent but has an amazing podcast idea. So, two different things. By now, we would have talked about their insurance agency and then moved to the podcast deal. But now we can just segue smoothly because your podcast is still in this space. So in general, what's the first thought you have when you think, if I started a podcast, it would be X?
So to me, being a mom and not really knowing how to promote your child or how to get them out there, I just thought, there needs to be a podcast for that, right? And being a coach's wife too, there's a lot of things that I learn and hear that maybe, the average mom or dad may not know about. So one, kind of educational, but then also, there's a lot of funny stories and a lot of behind the scenes and a lot of things that happen that nobody else knows about that I think can be pretty entertaining in a podcast.
And you mentioned it could be, the audience could be other mothers.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So we were talking about niching it down in that direction, which we can touch on. But then you also thought of, like you said, making it educational and more teaching people how to do video. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one thing that we could do. And it actually started that way. I was looking for a podcast on video editing and, how to create hype reels. And, there's a lot of new technology out there. And so I was looking for something and there really isn't anything. So that's what made me start thinking I should start a podcast in the first place. So, yeah.
So that one, we'll stick on that one for a minute. Okay. And then I want to come back to the one for moms. So this one would be prime for YouTube. And what you could do is you could make it a podcast, but it would be visual heavy. It would make more sense visually because you can share your screen and even give some more detailed tutorials on Final Cut and After Effects, right? Is that something that you had in mind doing?
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of the ones that are out there today, and I do watch some on YouTube, they're more like bigger production quality. So they'll have 6 camera angles to choose from. Well, I'm just one mom, so I only have one camera, sometimes 2. I don't have all the footage to pull from. So I just think, getting creative and finding different ways to capture the plays and all that, just teach people where to stand, what angle to get, if you should stand up, if you should kneel down, just, stuff like that, I think would be really important to teach.
Yeah. I didn't think about that part. I was only thinking editing and real technical, but no, yes, you need to have editing skills, but much like podcasting, you can be an audio editor, but do you know how to produce a podcast? There's a difference. So you're a great videographer, editor, but now how do you capture a high school football game?
Right.
So is that the specifics that you'd want to go down that path?
Yes. Well, not just football. I mean, there's a lot of videography that happens in basketball. Even though I don't have a child that plays basketball, that does tend to be a sport that has a lot of hype reels out there. And then baseball too. So really all three. And, lacrosse is really big now and volleyball. Mm-hmm. There's lots of options.
And I would bet each sport will have its different challenges.
Oh, yeah.
Framing, speed,
Yes.
Basketball is
Volleyball
going
is
to.
very hard.
What'd you say?
I said volleyball is very hard. I've tried to
Okay.
video volleyball before, and it is not an easy sport unless
So what makes
you
it difficult? What makes it difficult compared to other sports?
Well, so it may just be the way that I like to capture things, but I'm very much zoomed in. I want to see the expression on their face. I want to see their eyes. I want to know what's going on in their head as they're playing. And in volleyball, the ball's going so fast back and forth. It's really impossible to be zoomed in unless you're only focused on one player for that match.
Yeah.
You really have to stay zoomed out to get the whole thing. Otherwise, it's just motion blur the whole time. You won't even know what's going on. So
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I don't watch a lot of volleyball, but when I do see it, yeah, it's just one fixed camera, isn't it? Wide. Yeah, because going back and forth must be nuts. I would gather basketball would be challenging too.
Yeah, basketball's kind of hard too, but you can follow the ball, so it's a little bit easier in that sense.
You got
And
someone.
if they're swing it around, you
Yeah,
kind of know once you learn a team, you know how they play. So
yeah, someone's just dribbling, waiting to hit their play, or they're at the foul line. So there are moments where it kind of slows down. Where
right,
volleyball is go go go, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then with football, you have a lot of downtime in
yes. If
between
you take a
plays.
football game, yeah, if you take a football game and you break it down to just between the whistle, so from the snap to the whistle, it's about 10 minutes. Even though it could take 3 hours on a Friday night, there's only about 10 minutes of actual playtime.
That is wild, and I've heard that before. And I'm guessing that's why coaches take every little inch so seriously, because you're only going to have so many possessions
Yep.
in that period. 10 minutes. Wow, golly, that's pretty remarkable. All right, so let's shift over to this other one that I think is a great idea. This is what I was trying to pursue you in this direction, as well as speaking to the moms, because there's a
Hmm.
lot of athlete moms out there in your school or just in general that bring in a whole other levy of challenges and,
Right.
and things. And I'm sure there's a lot of moms that would be interested on, okay, how do I balance these schedules? How do I feed these kids properly? How do,
Right.
tryouts and paperwork and dues and fees and just all this craziness when you have multiple kids, right? I mean, you're laughing right now because, yeah, you know that pain. So let's pretend that you have a podcast that you're doing and talking to other moms. Would
Okay.
would would you want to interview moms?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be a great idea, especially if it's someone that has a senior that's about to exit any of like their, lessons learned or things that they didn't do, they wish they would have done.
Yeah.
Because by the time your child becomes a senior, which mine's just a junior, so I can't speak from experience, but I can kind of see it coming. You've kind of lived through all of it, and then you just want to enjoy that last season, and not have to worry about all the stuff. So we're trying to get everything done this year, recruiting wise and applying for schools and SAT and ACT and all that stuff, trying to get all that nailed down so that next year we can just
Mhm.
enjoy the season.
And that podcast could be more of a vlog or whatever you call an audio blog.
Okay.
I don't know what that is, but basically that podcast is more story based in the sense of people can follow you and
Hmm.
your steps, and you could get on a episode and the whole thing is dedicated to venting on this application process. And hey, before you dive in, look out for these 5 things. But you're bringing it up because you're living it in that moment,
Correct.
and that will really come across genuine, and people would engage in that, and then follow you because now they're going to want to hear what that next thing you're doing. Oh, Kelly's and her family are driving to Alabama for this show or this game or whatever. I can't wait to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
That type of thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And I just had another thought. This is where maybe edit. Nah, we don't edit here. We keep it loose. Shoot, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, niching. So
Hmm.
that's always important in content. The technical side, that's definitely niching because you're leaning on capturing games. So it's not
Hmm.
just videography. It's
Right.
videography and editing towards that,
Yeah.
which is great. And then if you were to drill even further down, It could be specifically on football games, but
Mhm.
I don't think you need to drill that deep. But the one with moms, I still to this day think that is a good niche, and I think there's an audience for you for that, because the other aspect to that is local. So
Mhm.
now you're communicating to your local moms, even
Mhm.
if it's outside of your school. You're engaging with these other moms that are locally, that everyone kind of knows everybody else and everything, and that's when people start sharing for you.
Okay.
That's what I've learned in my experience with my local platforms, is that it's way more powerful. You can
Okay.
you look
Interesting.
you look
I
at,
wonder about that.
and I only know this because I learned it. Otherwise, I would have thought, yeah, I mean, you get the world to your, for your podcast. I mean, it's endless you can have. But if all your guests are just strangers from each other, they can sometimes hopefully share their episode and help push you out there into their space and their socials, but they don't know each other. When you
Right. There's
highlight a group of people that they all kind of connected, they want to hear each other's things. They want to
yeah.
learn more about them, and it makes for a more powerful reach from my perspective and from my experiences. So that's another huge A plus for the, I don't know what we'd call it. Maybe we could try to think of a name. I keep thinking, mom podcast or whatever, but
Well, and there's one that I follow and listen to from time to time, and it's called Friday Night Wives. So it's all the coaches' wives of
yeah.
high school football, which I think that's kind of cool. They've kind of expanded now into other sports, so it's a little not as niche, but
Yeah.
something creative like that.
So for that, the niche is, where is the perspective coming from?
Right.
The mom. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's the hook. And other women are going to want to listen to that because they're either in the middle of that storm now, or they
Mm-hmm.
have a kid in 6th grade that's starting to ramp up.
Right.
They know where they're going to be going into, and then they can be more proactive by listening to your content, but
Mm-hmm.
also have more fun. And with Zoom, you can Zoom with other moms and make it simple. But I think that's a cool idea. So
Yeah.
I'm anxious to make it for you, Kelly, so we can talk. No, just kidding. Well, I love this. That was a lot of fun talking through these things. At the end here, I want to always give the guests another opportunity to push anything, promote anything you want to plug, any message that you have. The floor is yours, Kelly.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, if you have anybody that has a high school senior or junior, upcoming senior that needs either a hype video for recruiting process or just senior pictures, I'm happy to do so. Studio here in Memphis, well, in Germantown, and I only book one photo shoot a day, so they get me for the whole day as much as you want. So
Yeah, and did you mention where you're at in Germantown? Right, you did mention
yes,
that. Sorry,
Germantown, Tennessee.
I
Yep.
just squirreled for a second, but so and great, awesome. So I appreciate your time. And before I say bye, let me do some business here. So I would love for my listeners out there to visit srpstudiosllc.com. Why? Because it tells you everything that I do and my agency does for anyone that's looking to use podcasting as a way to elevate their brand visibility and credibility, and market their business, or if they're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, whatever it may be. We can help you use the power of podcasting to spread your reach. Also, if you want to help support this podcast, we have a Patreon account, which is a monetization platform that provides business tools for content creators to run a subscription service. So if you do enjoy this podcast, we have a tip jar tier. It's only $1 a month. There is no premium content that comes with that, so I'm always upfront with that. But it's $1 a month. It's a tip jar. It's like when you go see a band. Bloop, put $1 in the bucket. So we have a virtual bucket for those dollars. So yeah, check that out. Link in the description for that. And again, Kelly Day, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had fun with this. And to those watching and listening, have a great day.